Imagine a war so epic, it was thought to be the stuff of legends. A saga where gods mingled with mortals, heroes like Achilles wielded their might, and the fate of the grand city of Troy hung in the balance of a seemingly innocuous wooden horse. This is the tale of the Trojan War, a narrative woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness. But was this monumental conflict just a figment of ancient imagination? Or could the Trojan War have been grounded in reality? The tale of the Trojan War, as many of us know it, comes from Homer's Iliad, an epic poem written in the 8th century BC. It's a tale that has stood the test of time, woven with threads of love, honor, and vengeance. The story begins with a divine feud. During the wedding of the sea nymph Thetis and mortal king Peleus, Eris, the goddess of discord, presents a golden apple with the inscription "to the fairest" as a spiteful wedding gift. The goddesses Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite all lay claim to the apple, leading to the infamous judgment of Paris. Paris, a Trojan prince, is appointed to settle the dispute. Seduced by Aphrodite's promise of the most beautiful woman in the world, he awards the apple to her, inadvertently setting the stage for a devastating war. The woman promised to Paris is none other than Helen, Queen of Sparta, who is already married to King Menelaus. When Paris takes Helen back to Troy, it triggers an outrage that unites the fragmented Greek city-states. Under the leadership of Agamemnon, Menelaus's brother and the king of Mycenae, a formidable fleet of 1,000 ships is assembled. Thus begins the 10-year siege of Troy. At the forefront of the conflict are legendary heroes like Achilles, the invincible Greek warrior, and Hector, the noble Trojan prince. They battle not just against each other, but also against their own personal demons. Achilles grapples with his volatile temper and the foreboding prophecy of his early death, while Hector struggles with the weight of responsibility and the fear of failing his city. The war reaches a pivotal point when Achilles, enraged by the death of his friend Patroclus, slays Hector. However, the city of Troy still stands protected by its impenetrable walls. It's only through a cunning strategy, the construction of a giant wooden horse, that the Greeks managed to infiltrate and sack the city. In the end, the war serves as a testament to the destructive power of pride and the tragic consequences of love and honor. The city of Troy falls, its once majestic walls reduced to ruins, and its people either slain or enslaved. This captivating tale of love, honor, and vengeance has intrigued minds for millennia. But was it all just a myth spun by a gifted bard? Or could there be a grain of truth hidden within this epic tale? As we delve deeper, we'll attempt to unravel the enigma of the Trojan War. But could there be more to this myth? Could it hold a grain of truth? Well, let's delve into the intriguing world of archaeology to find out. Picture this: the year is 1868, and a German businessman turned archaeologist, Heinrich Schliemann, is obsessed with proving the historical reality of the Trojan War. Inspired by Homer's epic poems, he sets his sights on a small hill in western Turkey, known as Hisarlik. Hisarlik is a fascinating place. It's like a layered cake of history, with 9 different cities built one on top of the other. Schliemann started digging and soon found himself standing amid the ruins of a once grand city, complete with formidable walls and an impressive gate. He was convinced he'd found the ancient city of Troy, and his bold claim ignited a firestorm of scholarly debate that rages on even today. But Schliemann's initial excavation was just the beginning. Over the next century and a half, subsequent archaeologists would peel back layer after layer of Hisarlik, unearthing a wealth of artifacts, pottery, tools, weapons, and even traces of ancient fires. These discoveries painted a picture of a city that had risen and fallen multiple times over the centuries, a city that had seen its share of conflict. One layer in particular, known as Troy VII, caught the attention of archaeologists. It dated back to around the 13th century BC, roughly the time when the Trojan War was said to have taken place according to ancient Greek chronology. And what's more, it showed signs of a violent end. The evidence of fire damage, fallen walls, and human remains suggested that this city had been besieged and destroyed, possibly in a war. But was this the war, the one Homer wrote about? Well, that's where it gets tricky. While the archaeological evidence suggests a city at Hisarlik was indeed besieged around the right time, it doesn't provide a direct link to the characters and events of the Trojan War. There's no sign of a giant wooden horse, or of the legendary heroes Achilles and Hector. And yet, the tantalizing possibility remains. So, what do we make of all this? Well, as is often the case with archaeology, it's a bit of a puzzle. The pieces are there, but how they fit together isn't always clear. The ruins at Hisarlik tell us that a city existed here, a city that saw conflict and destruction around the same time as the supposed Trojan War. But whether this was the city of Troy, and whether the war that destroyed it was the war of legend, well, that's something we may never know for certain. Yet, the archaeology of Hisarlik has given us a precious gift. It has turned a mythical place into a real one, and shown us that the world of Homer's epics wasn't entirely the stuff of fantasy. These findings give us tantalizing clues that hint at a possible reality behind the myth. Sometimes, myth and history intersect in the most unexpected ways. The tale of the Trojan War, filled with heroic battles, divine interventions, and a city brought to its knees, may seem like pure myth. But when we delve into the late Bronze Age's historical events and practices, we see some intriguing parallels. The late Bronze Age, spanning from around 1600 to 1200 BC, was a time of significant upheaval in the Eastern Mediterranean. Cities were destroyed and empires fell, creating what historians call a systems collapse. And it's within this chaos that the story of the Trojan War finds its historical context. The city of Troy, known as Wilusa in Hittite texts, was a significant player in this period. Its location at the mouth of the Dardanelles made it a crucial trading hub between the Aegean and Anatolian worlds. This strategic position could have made it a tempting target for ambitious Greek kingdoms, bringing a historical basis to the mythological conflict between Greece and Troy. Let's look at the famous Trojan Horse. It may seem like a fanciful plot device, but it reflects a common practice of the era. Siege warfare was prevalent during the late Bronze Age, and subterfuge, trickery, even building ramps or tunnels to infiltrate enemy walls were all part of the military playbook. Perhaps the Trojan horse is a metaphorical representation of this kind of siege tactic. And then there's the role of women in the war, exemplified by Helen, the face that launched 1,000 ships. Women in this era were often used as political pawns, their marriages forming alliances or settling disputes. Helen's abduction, whether by choice or force, echoes these historical practices. These connections between the Iliad's epic tale and late Bronze Age history suggest that the Trojan War may not be pure myth after all. Oral histories, passed down through generations, often mix fact and fiction, creating narratives that resonate with cultural and historical truths. The line between myth and history, it appears, is more blurred than we might think. So, where does this leave us in the debate over the Trojan War's historicity? We've journeyed through the epic tales of Homer's Iliad, explored archaeological finds that whisper of a city's downfall, and delved into the murky waters where myth meets history. Now, it's time to weigh the evidence and ponder the question: was the Trojan War real? On one side of the argument, we have the compelling narrative of the Iliad, a tale so detailed and vivid it could only be born out of historical events. The descriptions of the city, the warriors, the battles, all suggest a kernel of truth shrouded in the mists of time and embroidered by centuries of oral storytelling. Conversely, skeptics argue that the Iliad is just that, a story. They point to the fantastical elements, the meddling gods, and the larger-than-life heroes as evidence of its mythical nature. They argue that while there may have been a city that fell, it likely bore little resemblance to the epic siege immortalized in Homer's verses. The archaeological evidence is a mixed bag. Excavations at Hisarlik, believed to be the site of ancient Troy, have revealed a city that was indeed besieged and destroyed around the time the Trojan War would have supposedly taken place. However, the tangible proof linking this city to Homer's Troy is scant and often open to interpretation. Recent scholarly opinions hold that the Trojan War may not be a myth or a historical event, but something in between. a historical event embellished by myth. They suggest that the Trojan War could be a composite of multiple conflicts that occurred over a period, wrapped up in a single dramatic narrative. Whether we lean towards myth or history, one fact remains uncontestable. The Trojan War, real or not, has left an indelible mark on human culture. Its stories have been told and retold, its characters have become archetypes, and its themes resonate with us even today. Whether myth or reality, the story of the Trojan War continues to captivate us, reminding us of the enduring power of ancient tales.